The harsh fluorescent lights of Peterson's supermarket cast everything in an unforgiving glare as Marcus Torres reached for a box of cereal, his 7-year-old daughter Isabella tugging at his work jacket. Thursday evening, 6:47 p.m. Their weekly shopping ritual after Marcus finished his warehouse shift, both tired but together. "Papa, can we get strawberries this week?" Isabella asked, her dark eyes hopeful beneath her baseball cap. "Sure, Mija. You've been eating your vegetables all week," Marcus replied. His voice warmed despite the exhaustion settling into his bones. That's when the yelling started. "I saw you. Don't even try to deny it." Mr. Peterson's voice thundered across the pharmacy aisle. Marcus turned to see the elderly store owner, his face purple with rage, jabbing his finger at a young woman seated in a wheelchair near the medicine counter. The woman couldn't have been more than 28 or 29. Her dark hair was pulled into a neat bun, and she wore simple clothes, jeans and a sweater that had seen better days. But what caught Marcus's attention wasn't what she wore. It was how she sat, spine perfectly straight, head held high, even as a growing crowd of customers began to stare and whisper. "Sir, I can assure you I purchased everything in my possession," the woman said, her voice steady and clear. "I have my receipt right here. That receipt is for one item. I saw you take at least 3 bottles of vitamins and slip them into that bag hanging on your chair." Peterson moved closer, looming over her wheelchair. "You people always think you can get away with anything." Marcus felt Isabella's hand tighten in his. "Papa, why is that man yelling at that lady?" The woman remained calm, though Marcus could see her hands gripping the wheelchair's armrests with white-knuckled intensity. "Mr. Peterson, I understand you're concerned about theft, but I assure you, I only purchased the prescription medication listed on this receipt. If you'd like to check the security footage." "I don't need to check anything. I know what I saw." Peterson grabbed the cloth bag hanging from her wheelchair and dumped its contents onto the checkout counter with a crash. A prescription bottle rolled out. Then a wallet. A small notebook. A pen. Tissues. A phone. Car keys. Nothing else. No stolen vitamins. No hidden merchandise. The woman's face flushed with humiliation as other shoppers pulled out their phones, recording the scene. Marcus noticed how several people were filming, commenting to each other, but nobody was intervening. Nobody was helping. "Maybe you already put them in your pockets. Or under your seat cushion. I know all the tricks." Peterson reached toward the wheelchair, and that's when Marcus moved. "That's enough." His voice cut through the store like a knife. Marcus stepped forward, positioning himself between Peterson and the woman. At 6'2" with broad shoulders built from years of manual labor, his presence was commanding. Isabella followed, staying close to her father's leg. "This doesn't concern you, Torres," Peterson snapped. "Take your kid and mind your own business." "It became my business the moment you started publicly humiliating a customer without evidence," Marcus replied, his voice calm but firm. He turned to the woman. "Ma'am, are you all right?" She looked up at him, and Marcus found himself staring into striking green eyes filled with a mixture of surprise, relief, and barely controlled emotion. I'm Elena," she said quietly. "Elena Vasquez. And yes, I'm fine. Thank you for asking." "Torres, I'm warning you," Peterson started, but Marcus cut him off. "Where's your security guard? Where are your cameras?" Marcus looked around, spotting the cameras clearly positioned throughout the store. "Check the footage. Right now. If Miss Vasquez took anything, it'll be on video." Peterson's face went even redder. "I don't need cameras to tell me what I saw with my own eyes." "Then you won't mind if I call the police?" Marcus pulled out his phone. "I'm sure they'd be interested in this situation. False accusation, wrongful detention, discrimination against someone with a disability." "Discrimination?" Peterson sputtered. I wouldn't." "You wouldn't what?" Marcus's voice dropped dangerously low. "Target someone because they're in a wheelchair? Because you assume they're an easy target? Because people like her don't get believed?" Isabella suddenly spoke up, her child's voice cutting through the tension. "Papa, the lady didn't take anything. The man is lying. Sometimes children see truth more clearly than adults. Peterson looked around at the crowd, at the phone's recording, at Marcus's steady gaze, and his bluster finally cracked. Fine. Get out. Both of you. You're banned from my store. Suits me just fine, Marcus said. He bent down, helping Elena gather her scattered belongings with gentle hands. Isabella, following her father's example, picked up the pen that had rolled under a display and handed it to Elena with a shy smile. Here you go, Miss Elena. That mean man shouldn't have yelled at you. Elena's eyes filled with tears as she took the pen. Thank you, sweetheart. You're very kind. Just like your father. As they walked toward the exit, Marcus could hear Peterson muttering behind them, could feel the stares of customers who'd watched but done nothing. Outside, the October evening air hit them with a chill that had nothing to do with temperature. You really didn't have to do that, Elena said once they were in the parking lot. Her voice was shaky now, the composure cracking. Most people just watch. Or film it for social media. I'm not most people, Marcus replied. And Isabella's watching. I want her to learn that when someone's being treated unfairly, you stand up. You don't look away. Your papa is a good man, Elena said to Isabella, who beamed with pride. They reached a modest Honda Accord parked in the handicap space. The car had been modified with hand controls. Marcus could see them through the window. Can we help you with anything? Marcus asked. I can manage, thank you. Elena began the practice transfer from wheelchair to driver's seat, movements economical and efficient. She'd clearly done this thousands of times. But I appreciate the offer more than you know. Marcus noticed the military parking permit hanging from her rearview mirror. You served. Elena paused, surprised. Army. Iraq. 5 years ago. That's where this happened. She gestured at her legs, at the wheelchair now folded and being loaded into the back seat with mechanical precision. Thank you for your service, Marcus said quietly. My brother served. Marines. Afghanistan. Something passed between them, understanding, recognition, the acknowledgement of sacrifice. I'm Marcus, by the way. Marcus Torres. This is my daughter Isabella. I'm 7. Isabella announced proudly. And I think you're really brave, Miss Elena. Papa says brave people keep going even when things are hard. Elena's smile was genuine this time, reaching her eyes. Your papa is absolutely right. We need to find a new grocery store anyway, Marcus said. Know any good ones around here? There's a riverside market about 2 miles north. The owner is a veteran too. She's always been kind to me. Elena hesitated, then added, I usually shop there on Saturday mornings. Around 9 o'clock. Their eyes met, and Marcus felt something shift in the air between them. Not attraction, not yet, but possibility. Maybe we'll see you there, Marcus said. Maybe you will, Elena replied, her smile soft and hopeful. As they watched her drive away, Isabella looked up at her father. Papa, why was that man so mean to Miss Elena? Marcus knelt to his daughter's level, the way he'd done so many times before. When he'd had to explain why Mama wasn't coming back from the hospital. When he'd had to tell her they couldn't afford the dance classes she wanted. When the world seemed too big and complicated for a 7-year-old to understand. Sometimes, Mija, people see someone who looks different and they make bad assumptions. They think because someone's in a wheelchair, they must be weak or easy to take advantage of. But Miss Elena wasn't weak. She was strong. Exactly right, Marcus said, kissing her forehead. You've got your mama's heart, you know that? Always seeing people for who they really are. The grief hit him then, sudden and sharp as always. 3 years since cancer had taken his wife, 3 years of being both mother and father to Isabella, 3 years of learning that life goes on even when you think it can't. But grief had also taught him things. It taught him that life was precious, that kindness mattered more than being right, that sometimes, standing up for a stranger could remind you how to stand up for yourself. Saturday morning arrived with clear skies and the promise of autumn. Marcus found himself arriving at Riverside Market earlier than necessary, telling himself it was because they needed to beat the weekend crowds. Isabella saw right through him. Papa, you want to see Miss Elena again? She said matter-of-factly as they pulled into the parking lot. I want to make sure she has a better shopping experience this time, Marcus corrected, though he couldn't hide his smile. You think she's pretty? I think she's a person who deserves respect, Marcus said firmly. Now come on, let's get our shopping done. They'd been browsing the produce section for about 10 minutes when Isabella suddenly tugged his sleeve. Papa! Look! Elena was wheeling down the aisle toward them. A shopping basket balanced on her lap. When she spotted them, her face lit up with genuine pleasure. Marcus! Isabella! What a wonderful surprise! She wheeled closer and Marcus noticed she looked different today. More relaxed, her hair down around her shoulders, wearing a smile that seemed to come easier. Miss Elena! Isabella rushed over. Then remembered herself and slowed down. We found a new grocery store. I can see that. What do you think? Better than Peterson's. Much better, Marcus agreed. The owner, Mrs. Rivera, actually smiled when we walked in. Novel concept. They fell into step together naturally, shopping side by side, conversation flowing easily. Elena shared that she'd been a combat medic in Iraq, that she'd been injured saving 3 soldiers during an ambush. The injury had left her paralyzed from the waist down, but she spoke about it matter-of-factly, without self-pity or bitterness. I spent a year in rehab learning to live again, she said, comparing apple prices. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, psychological counseling. The VA was actually pretty good about it. What do you do now? Marcus asked. I'm a nursing student. Online program part-time. I want to work in veteran rehabilitation, help other people going through what I did. She smiled. Turns out, getting shot doesn't disqualify you from helping people. Who knew? Marcus found himself impressed by her determination, her refusal to let her injury define her limitations. What about you? Elena asked. What do you do when you're not rescuing people in grocery stores? Warehouse work. Loading dock supervisor at Patterson Logistics. It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills and lets me be home for Isabella in the evenings. Papa's really good at his job, Isabella chimed in. His boss said he's indispensable. I asked what that means and Papa said it means they need him. Sounds like you've got a pretty special dad, Elena said. The best, Isabella agreed seriously. They shopped together for over an hour, the conversation never lagging. Elena asked about Isabella's school, her interests, her favorite subjects. Isabella, never shy, peppered Elena with questions about her wheelchair, about being a soldier, about what it was like to live differently than other people. Isabella, Marcus said, embarrassed. You don't have to answer that, he told Elena. No, it's okay. I'd rather people ask questions than make assumptions. Elena looked at Isabella seriously. The wheelchair is just a tool like glasses or a bike. It helps me get around because my legs don't work anymore. Some people think that makes me less capable, but really it just means I do things differently. Like using hand controls in your car? Isabella asked. Exactly like that. Different but just as effective. As they reached the checkout, Marcus noticed how the cashier treated Elena with easy respect, asking if she needed help bagging while making it clear it was an offer, not an assumption. This was what Peterson's should have been. Outside, as they loaded groceries into their respective vehicles, Elena hesitated. Marcus, I know this is forward, but would you and Isabella maybe want to get coffee sometime? There's a veterans cafe downtown that's fully accessible, and they have amazing hot chocolate for kids. Marcus felt something warm spread through his chest. We'd like that. Really? Elena's smile was radiant. Really? How about tomorrow afternoon? Say 2 o'clock. It's a date. Well, not a date. I mean a friend date. A coffee appointment. Elena laughed at herself. I'm going to stop talking now before I make this more awkward. 2 o'clock works great, Marcus said, grinning. And Elena? It can be a date if you want it to be. Their eyes met, and the possibility between them crystallized into something more tangible. Okay, Elena said softly. A date. The Veterans Cafe was everything Elena had promised. Welcoming, accessible, filled with military memorabilia and the aroma of fresh coffee. Isabella was entranced by the vintage uniforms on display, while Marcus and Elena settled into a quiet corner booth. Thank you for coming, Elena said, wrapping her hands around a steaming mug. I don't do this much. Dating, I mean. It's complicated. Because of the wheelchair? Marcus asked gently. Partly. Some guys see it and run. Others see it as a charity case. They want to save me or fix me. Elena's laugh was bitter. I had a boyfriend before my injury. When I came back from Walter Reed, he lasted about 3 weeks before telling me he couldn't handle it. Said he didn't sign up to be a caretaker. He was an idiot, Marcus said bluntly. Maybe. Or maybe he was honest about his limitations. I've tried to not be bitter about it. Elena took a sip of her coffee. What about you? Isabella mentioned her mom isn't around. Cancer. 3 years ago. Marcus's voice was steady, but Elena could hear the old grief underneath. Ovarian cancer. By the time they found it, it was stage 4. She fought for 6 months, but... I'm so sorry, Elena said, reaching across the table to touch his hand. Thank you. Isabella was only 4. Some days I wonder if she really remembers her mom, or if she just remembers the stories I tell her. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, two people who understood loss in different ways. Can I ask you something? Elena said. Why did you help me at Peterson's? Really? Marcus thought carefully before answering. My wife Carmen, she used to say that you judge a society by how it treats the vulnerable. When I saw Peterson going after you, I saw someone being attacked unfairly. And I thought about what I'd want someone to do if that was Isabella someday, or my mother, or anyone I cared about. I'd want someone to stand up. Most people don't, Elena said quietly. Most people just watch and film. I know. And I hate that. Marcus paused. But also, I saw how you handled yourself. You weren't a victim, even though Peterson was trying to make you one. You stood your ground, metaphorically speaking, and demanded respect. That took courage. Elena's eyes glistened. Thank you for seeing that. Over the next few weeks, they fell into a routine. Saturday morning grocery shopping together became a given. Elena started joining them for Sunday afternoon park visits, where Isabella would run and play while the adults talked for hours. Tuesday evenings, Elena would come over after her nursing classes and help Isabella with her reading homework. You're really good with her, Marcus observed one evening after Isabella had gone to bed, leaving him and Elena alone in the living room of his modest apartment. She's a special kid. Smart, empathetic, curious. Elena smiled. She reminds me of why I want to work in rehabilitation. Helping people, especially kids, navigate difficult situations. Can I ask you something personal? Marcus said. Of course. How do you afford nursing school? The VA helps, but I know it doesn't cover everything. Elena went very still. That's complicated. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. No, I should tell you. You should know. Elena took a deep breath. Do you remember about 6 years ago? There was a major lawsuit against the defense contractor Blackstone Security? Marcus searched his memory. Vaguely. Something about faulty equipment. Faulty body armor, Elena corrected. The plates they sold to the military were defective. 3 soldiers died because their armor failed. I was one of 12 who were injured. She paused. I was part of the class action lawsuit against them. And you won, Marcus said slowly, understanding dawning. We won. Substantial settlement. 8 figures split among the 12 of us. Elena's voice was almost defensive. I didn't want to tell you because people treat you differently when they find out you have money. Marcus sat back, processing. Suddenly things made sense: the quality of her wheelchair, the newer model Honda, the fact that she could afford to go to school part-time without working. How much? He asked. Does it matter? Maybe. Elena met his eyes. After legal fees and taxes? About $4 million. Marcus let out a low whistle. That's a lot of money. It's blood money, Elena said bitterly. It's what my legs were worth to a jury. It's supposed to cover a lifetime of medical care, modifications, lost wages, pain and suffering. The lawyer said I should invest it wisely and never work another day if I don't want to. But you're going to nursing school, Marcus pointed out. Because I need to be more than just my injury and my settlement, Elena said fiercely. I need to be someone who contributes, who helps, who matters for more than just being a disabled veteran with a big bank account. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Does anyone else know? My family knows. The other veterans in the lawsuit. My lawyer. And now you. Elena's voice was small. Please don't tell anyone. People already make assumptions about me because of the wheelchair. If they knew about the money too. Your secret's safe with me, Marcus promised. And Elena? It doesn't change how I see you. You're still the woman who stood up to Peterson with dignity. You're still the person who's patient with Isabella and makes her laugh. The money is just circumstances. Really? Elena's voice was fragile with hope. Really, Marcus confirmed. He moved closer, taking her hand. Though I'll admit, it's a little intimidating. I'm a warehouse supervisor, Elena. I make decent money, but I'll never be in your league financially. I don't care about league, Elena said. I care about character. And you, Marcus Torres, have more character than anyone I've met in a long time. They sat like that, hands clasped, while Isabella's soft snores drifted from her bedroom and the October wind rattled the windows. The revelation hung between them. Not a barrier, but something to navigate together. So where do we go from here? Elena asked. Forward, Marcus said simply. One day at a time. If you're willing. I'm willing, Elena said. When Marcus kissed her for the first time that night, soft and gentle and full of promise, it felt like the beginning of something real. The next few months tested them in ways neither had anticipated. Marcus's mother, Rosa, was the first to voice concerns. Mijo, I like Elena. She's lovely. But have you thought about the future? About what her disability means long-term? They were in Rosa's kitchen, Isabella playing in the backyard, while Marcus helped prepare Sunday dinner. What do you mean? Marcus asked, though he knew exactly what she meant. I mean, what if her health deteriorates? What if she needs more care as she gets older? What if there are complications? Rosa's voice was gentle but firm. And what about more children? Have you discussed that? Mama, I've been a widower for 3 years. I'd made peace with maybe never finding love again. Marcus set down the knife he'd been using to chop vegetables. Elena makes me happy. She makes Isabella happy. Yes, there will be challenges. But every relationship has challenges. This is different. Is it? Carmen had cancer. We knew it could come back. That was a challenge we lived with every day. Marcus's voice was firm. Life doesn't come with guarantees, Mama. But I know Elena is worth the risk. Rosa sighed, pulling her son into a hug. Just promise me you'll be careful. With your heart and with Isabella's. I promise. But Rosa's concerns planted seeds of doubt. What if Elena's health declined? What if Isabella got too attached and then lost another mother figure? What if Marcus was being selfish, chasing his own happiness without thinking about the long-term consequences? Meanwhile, Elena was facing her own battles. Her father, General retired Robert Vasquez, had flown in from Texas to meet this boyfriend Elena had mentioned. The dinner at Elena's apartment was tense from the start. So, Marcus, the general said, his voice carrying decades of command authority, what are your intentions toward my daughter? Dad. Elena protested. It's okay, Marcus said calmly. He met the general's steel-gray gaze directly. Sir, I care deeply about Elena. I respect her. admire her strength, and I want to build a relationship with her. My intentions are serious. You're aware of her financial situation? The general's tone was blunt. Dad, stop. Yes, sir, I am, Marcus replied. And it doesn't change my feelings. I cared about Elena before I knew, and I care about her now. A lot of men would say that, the general observed. Funny how many suitors Elena had after her settlement came through. Elena's face flushed with anger and humiliation. Marcus isn't like that. How do you know? Her father's voice wasn't unkind, just brutally practical. Elena, sweetheart, you're vulnerable. The wheelchair, the money. You're a target for people who might not have your best interests at heart. I'm not a child, Elena said, her voice shaking. I'm a 30-year-old woman who served her country, survived a war injury, and rebuilt her entire life. I think I can make my own choices about relationships. I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying be careful. The dinner ended awkwardly. After the general left, Elena was quiet, withdrawn. Are you okay? Marcus asked gently. My father means well, Elena said. But he's treated me like I'm made of glass ever since I got injured. Like I can't handle the real world anymore. You're one of the strongest people I know, Marcus said. Am I? Elena's voice cracked. Or am I just pretending to be strong while everyone around me waits for me to break? The doubts were creeping in for both of them. The weight of outside opinions, of legitimate concerns, of the challenges they'd face, came to a head 3 weeks later. Marcus had been offered a promotion at work, operations manager, significantly more money, but it would require longer hours and occasional weekend work. It would mean less time with Isabella, less time with Elena, but financial security he hadn't had in years. You should take it, Elena said when he told her about the offer. They were at her apartment, Isabella asleep on the couch after a movie night. I'm not sure I want to, Marcus admitted. The money would be great, but what? But I'd barely see you. Or Isabella. And I've finally found something good, Elena. I don't want to lose it chasing a paycheck. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then, Marcus, we need to talk about something. Those words, no good conversation ever started that way. My father offered me money, Elena continued. A trust fund separate from my settlement. Enough to cover Isabella's education, to buy a house, to give you financial security without you having to work yourself to death. Marcus went very still. You told him no, right? I told him I'd think about it. Elena. Marcus, listen to me. I have more money than I'll ever need. Why should you struggle when I could help? Why should Isabella go without when I could provide? Because I'm not your charity case, Marcus said, his voice harder than he intended. Because I provide for my daughter. Because accepting your money, or your father's money, would change everything between us. How would it change things? Because then I'd always wonder, Marcus said honestly. I'd wonder if you were with me because you loved me, or because you felt sorry for me. I'd wonder if every bill you paid, every gift you bought Isabella, was because you saw us as a project, as something to fix. Elena's face paled. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it's how I'd feel. Marcus ran his hands through his hair. Elena, I'm not rich. I probably never will be. But I'm proud of the life I've built for Isabella and me. I'm proud that we've survived and even thrived on our own. Taking your money would undermine all of that. So what? Your pride is more important than your daughter's future. The words hit like a slap. They stared at each other, both hurt, both angry, both scared of what they were risking. I should go, Marcus said finally. He gently picked up Isabella, who stirred but didn't wake. Marcus, wait. I need to think, Elena. We both do. He left, and the silence in Elena's apartment felt like a preview of loneliness to come. For 2 weeks they barely spoke. Polite text messages about logistics. Isabella had left a book at Elena's apartment. Could Marcus pick it up? Yes, just leave it on the porch. Cordial but distant. Isabella, meanwhile, was miserable. Papa, why don't we see Miss Elena anymore? She asked one night at dinner. We just We're taking a break, Mija. Did you have a fight? Sort of. Isabella's eyes filled with tears. But I love Miss Elena. She's like a mom. I thought she might be my mom for real someday. Marcus felt his heart break. I know, baby. I love her too. Then why aren't you fixing it? Out of the mouths of children. That night, after Isabella was asleep, Marcus sat alone in his living room, staring at the blank TV screen. He thought about pride and love, about fear and hope, about what he was teaching his daughter by his choices. His phone rang. Rosa. Mijo, I heard you and Elena had a falling out. How did you, Isabella? She's worried about you. I'm worried about you. Rosa's voice was gentle. Are you going to tell me what happened? Marcus explained the money, the offer, his pride, the argument. Mijo, Rosa said when he finished, let me tell you something. When your father proposed to me, my family was horrified. He was a poor immigrant working construction, barely spoke English. My father offered to pay him to go away, to leave me alone so I could marry someone appropriate. Marcus had never heard this story. Your father was so insulted, so angry, he almost left town. And I almost let him because I thought his pride mattered more than anything else. Rosa paused. But then I realized love isn't about pride. It's about partnership. It's about building something together. Even when it's hard. Even when your circumstances are unequal. What did you do? I told my father where he could put his money. And I told your father that I loved him exactly as he was, pride and all. But that sometimes accepting help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Rosa's voice was firm. Marcus, Elena didn't offer you that money to insult you. She offered because she loves you and wants to help. Maybe you should let her. After they hung up, Marcus sat for a long time thinking. Finally, he picked up his phone and typed, "Can we talk?" Elena's response came immediately. "Please." They met at the park the next afternoon, Isabella at Rosa's house, giving them privacy to hash things out. "I'm sorry," Marcus said before Elena could speak. "I was wrong. Not about everything, but about how I handled it." "I'm sorry too," Elena said. "I shouldn't have involved my father. I shouldn't have pressured you." They sat on a bench overlooking the pond, close but not touching yet. "Here's the thing," Marcus continued. "I've spent 3 years proving I could handle everything alone. Providing for Isabella, keeping it together, being both parents. And I've done okay. But somewhere along the way, I started believing that accepting help meant I was failing." "You're not failing," Elena said softly. "I know that now. Or I'm starting to." Marcus turned to face her. "Elena, I love you. I love how strong you are, how you've rebuilt your life, how patient you are with Isabella. I love your laugh and your determination, and the way you make me feel like I can be more than just a struggling single dad." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I love you too. I love your integrity, your kindness, the way you see me as a person instead of a disability or a bank account. I love that you teach Isabella to be brave and compassionate. I love the family we've started to build together." "So where does that leave us?" Marcus asked. "It leaves us with a choice," Elena said. "We can let pride and fear and outside opinions tear us apart. Or we can choose each other, flaws and complications and all." Marcus took her hands. "I choose you. But Elena, I need to be able to contribute. I need to feel like an equal partner, even if the bank accounts aren't equal." "Then take the promotion," Elena said. "Build your career. Provide for Isabella in your own way. And when you need help, when we need help, let me be there. Not as a charity, but as your partner." "And the trust fund?" "I'll tell my father thanks, but no thanks. You and I will figure out our own finances our own way." Elena smiled. "Though I reserve the right to spoil Isabella occasionally with books and art supplies." "I can live with that," Marcus said, and finally he kissed her. They sat on that bench for hours talking through details, making plans, rebuilding trust. By the time they left, the sun was setting and they were holding hands, partnership reforged. 6 months later, Marcus stood in his newly rented house. Not bought, rented. A compromise that let them have more space without him feeling bought. watching Elena help Isabella decorate her new bedroom. He'd taken the promotion. The hours were long, but the money was good, and more importantly, it felt earned. Elena had started her clinical rotations at the VA hospital, working with injured veterans, transforming her own trauma into healing for others. They'd settled into a rhythm. Elena spent 3 nights a week at the house, her wheelchair having its own designated spot in the garage. Isabella called her Miss Elena still, but sometimes it slipped into Mom, and nobody corrected her. Rosa had come around completely, teaching Elena family recipes and insisting she come to every Sunday dinner. The general still had his doubts, but he'd started to respect Marcus's dedication and integrity. They weren't perfect. There were hard days when Elena's pain flared and she was short-tempered, when Marcus worked late and came home too exhausted to be patient, when Isabella had nightmares about losing another mom. But they worked through it together. One evening in April, Marcus found Elena on the back porch, looking out at the sunset. "Hey," he said, settling beside her. "You okay?" "Better than okay," Elena said. She turned to him, her green eyes bright. "Marcus, I have something to ask you." "Okay." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small box. Inside was a simple silver band. Marcus's eyes widened. "Elena, let me do this before I lose my nerve," she said, laughing nervously. "Marcus Torres, you are the bravest, kindest, most stubborn man I've ever met. You stood up for me when no one else would. You saw me, really saw me, when everyone else just saw a wheelchair. You've let me into your life and Isabella's heart. And you've taught me that family isn't about perfection. It's about showing up every day and choosing each other." Tears were streaming down Marcus's face now. "I know we've only been together for 9 months. I know there are still challenges ahead. But I also know that I want to face those challenges with you." Elena's voice was steady now, sure. "Marcus Torres, will you marry me?" Isabella burst onto the porch, because of course she'd been listening. "Say yes, Papa. Say yes." Marcus laughed through his tears, pulling both Elena and Isabella into an embrace. "Yes. God, yes. 1,000 times yes." The ring fit perfectly. They married 4 months later in a small ceremony at the Veterans Cemetery, surrounded by family, friends, and Elena's fellow veterans. Isabella,